144p, 360p, 1080p. Today, I'm going to be ranking the best video resolution, and quick disclaimer, it's not 4K. Now, since I have a download speed lower than the internet's perception, this tier list is going to be an accurate representation of anyone who faces a bad internet connection, or perhaps have a lot of people in their household who are fighting for the internet. So you know what, let's start nice and simple. 144p.
As you can see, I think we have a great starting point, great resolution.
Now let's not take the mick here. 144p is unbearable. You know, when I'm out there walking around the towns and I'm watching a YouTube video, I get an ad. It's in 1080p. And I'm like, oh, reception's pretty good here. Cool, my video's gonna load in a spectacle. But no, 144p, low quality, buffering piece of shit. No, YouTube out here stealing my £5 a month monthly data allowance just to blow all on ads. £5. Like, I mean, I get paid for it, but there's a reason TikTok's eating your lunch, YouTube. There's a reason. I'd say 144p on YouTube is comparable to the burgers they show you at the restaurant. It's like, wow, incredible picture. Let's take a dive. And at the end of the day, 144p might make your video visible if you're on a 4-inch iPhone 4. But when you're on the big screen, you might as well boot up some Minecraft.
It does sound quite funny, though.
I think even the worst internet connection can agree. 144p F. Yeah. 240p. What a step up. This might be the first resolution you can actually see the detail of on a screen. The difference between 144p and 240p is like going from movie to trailer. This was night and day back in the 2000s. I talk as if I was a part of it. Even the first YouTube video was uploaded in 240p to show some respect. It's not like it was the only resolution on YouTube, but I can't help but notice. You might have noticed recently that not all YouTube videos are available in 240p. Why is that? Someone at YouTube has been waging a war against this resolution. Take a look at this video. And over these past few years, it's slowly very suspicious. Apparently videos that don't do well don't even have the grace to run in 240p. 240p is on that level of importance. And for that reason, going in B, 360p.
360!
I've got some beef with this resolution, right? Look, 360p versus 240p. Tell me the difference. What, do you think you see a difference? They're both 480p. 360p might be one of the most useless resolutions I have ever seen. Seriously, why would you choose this resolution when there's 480p at like a tiny bit more bandwidth? And what's worse is YouTube always defaults to 360p when I play a video. Like, bruh, YouTube's out here wasting my time trying to select, oh, 480p. And I know what they'll say. They'll be like, oh, well, it's just based on your internet, blah, blah, blah. You know, why doesn't it default to 480p? YouTube, you gotta step up your game, man. Look at this leap. You see the detail? Yeah, you see the detail. I know some of you won't agree, which is why I've decided to come a bit prepared. Right, so for comparison, this is Tilted Towers from the hit game Fortnite. This is a nice close view of the clock tower. Now, as you can see, in 240p, you know, the clock tower, it looks a little scribbled, a little bit hard to read. I mean, you could kind of tell
It's a clock tower.
Moving on to 360p, so you can still see the clock tower with maybe like a tiny bit more detail, but you look at the handle, can't really tell the time still. It's just not enough. And finally, 480p, as you can see, much clearer view of the clock tower, so you can actually tell the time a little bit more. And for that, 360p going straight to the dungeon. 480p. This is my go-to resolution on mobile. For 2 decades, we admired 480p for its standard definition. If they removed this resolution, people would notice. And guess what? I definitely did when I uploaded my last video. There's the reason it's quote-unquote the standard resolution, because it is the standard. Anything building on this is only a little leap. Of course, if you disagree with me in the comments, I'm just going to delete your comment since this is my channel. The Nintendo Wii was repping 480p. And hey, that didn't do so bad, did it? PS2, 480p. Best-selling console of all time. But the best part, 480p uses like no bandwidth. Even when my parents are watching an Infinity Ultra HD, the HDR high dynamic fidelity, 480p is there to pick up the slack. There's no big blocky pixels on the screen. 480p, this might be the greatest resolution of all time. But we have a contender. 720p. Hey, now we're beefing. This is going to be a tough one. If you can run it, 720p is goated, but it's not without a trade-off. 550 megabytes versus 1 gigabyte of data. Now that's a big leap, but is 720p better than 480? Well, let's compare. Nintendo Switch, 720p. They say it's behind, but people still bought it. Is 720p good on mobile? Well, it isn't marginal because phones have small screens. Why does that matter? Because as you can see, there are less pixels on a phone than there are on a big TV. Your 480p, it's got a lot of work cut out for itself, but there's a plot twist to all of this. Most of you watching this video right now are on mobile, which means in 480p on a mobile device, few of you would be able to tell the difference. And that's why 720p is going behind 480. 1080p. This is where big TV meets big business. I remember earlier, we couldn't find enough pixels to fill up the telly. Well, now we're in contention. For some of you, 1080p is the standard. On the contrary, 1080p is a decent resolution on TV. But we can go one step further. 1440p, let's go. Don't mess. Best resolution of all time. Why? Because I said so. To set the record, this is the only resolution where I've not been able to see a single pixel. Everyone watching at some point has decided to, place their head right between the screen to find the pixels. And when I tried this, I couldn't find any. 50-inch TV, bro, don't mess. 70-inch, don't mess. 100-inch, don't mess. iPhone 18 XS Plus Max Ultra, don't mess. Look, this is a big deal. I search it on Google. Look, 1440p is absolutely incredible and underrated. Massive moment in the tier list. 1440p is basically what 1080p was back in the 2010s. People didn't use it because there wasn't much difference, but eventually, bigger TV, bigger screen, bigger needs. My monitor, 1440p. And yeah, Fortnite might be a bit rocky on my overpriced, underperforming graphics card, but it's becoming the standard. The only reason you'd want to use 1080p is if you're on a teeny weeny tiny television. And then again, look, Big Boss Man saying that a 4K television's under £200. So what's the point? 1440p A, 1080p B. I can already hear Nerdy Glasses is fuming in the comment section right now. Of course, you could say 4K is a bit better. It is a problem. At some point in this tier list, the resolutions will eventually become useless because the human eye can only see this much. Best description of 4K is it's like adding too much cream to a cake. I've stopped being able to see the difference. In fact, it's almost spoiling my cake. But on a bigger cake, it's harder to go overboard. Just like a big TV, more pixels spread across a bigger screen. However, like spoiling a cake, you can also spoil an internet connection, which, as we may have forgotten, is a major flag in this video. Can our internet really handle 4K? Well, mine definitely can't. If you're not in the city, you're going to struggle to run this in a household. Even if we were living in the future, even if my aunt had balls, I'd struggle to tell the difference between 1440p and 2160p on the big telly. Why add more cream to an already creamy cake? This is the logic we're looking at here. 144p times by 10 is 1440p. And 1080 times 1080, like rubbish, bro. Even my mathematics doesn't agree. And I got a B. 4K, more like DK, bro. D tier. And just a reminder to the comment section, quit crying my channel here. Please feel free to go sit in your echo chamber, you fat, useless waste of time. And of course, the rest of these resolutions don't really matter since barely anyone can run them, so I'm just gonna... And that's my tier list. As always, agree if you agree, disagree, don't care. Smash that subscribe button, join my Discord, follow my Instagram, share this video around if you agree, share this around if you don't, and consider checking out more of my tier lists. My name is Dundee, and I'll see you there.